Hi everyone, I'm Mikki Trowbridge and welcome to your yoga practice. Our setting's a little bit different today. In an effort to film more classes over the next few weeks, I'll be filming from my living room, so welcome to my home. There will likely be some animal sightings, although they're MIA at the moment. And I realize that the backlighting's not ideal. It's just the best wall we have, so we're gonna make do. It's kind of the situation we're in, right? Making peace with the less than ideal situation. But I'm honored to be able to share some yoga with you over the next few weeks. I hope to film several classes a week, so if you have any requests of what you'd like for your home practices, please just let me know. Today's practice is going to be a pretty grounding, deep twisting practice for me when I'm feeling very much in my head and kind of all over the place. The deep twists are really what bring me back down to earth. So that's what we're going to focus on today. We're going to start slow and end slow, but there'll be some movement and some challenge in the middle, but it will be definitely a slow moving practice. I recommend a couple blocks if you have them. If you don't have blocks, you could use a stack of books, dumbbells work, cans of soup, things like that. Just anything that helps you to reach the ground. Here's Shanti. And we are going to get started lying down on our backs when you're ready. So we'll come on down. And as we come on down to the ground, we're going to start just right away in a twist, a supine twist. So I'm going to recommend that you take your arms out to the sides. We're going to bend the knees, and we're going to take the legs toward the right with the knees bent. And you could have the legs stacked, you could have the legs separate, you could have them crossed, whatever feels restful and easy for you here. You're welcome to close the eyes. And I want you to start to just allow and invite yourself to unravel here a little bit. To start to breathe really fully and deeply in and out of your belly. And as that breath moves in and out, just start to feel the spine and all of the muscles that stabilize your core, all of the muscles that stabilize your spine and your torso, starting to soften and release. And if you can hear that smacking in the mic, that's Shanti trying to talk to me. I apologize. As the breath starts to slow down, feel the mind starting to slow as well. I often think of it like a snow globe, and often when we come to the mat, the little pieces of snow are scattered everywhere. And this is our opportunity to let that snow resettle onto the ground of your snow globe. Nice and easy. Let's just bring those legs back up to center and over to the other side. Every time the mind wanders to anything else, like puppy dogs or anxieties or distractions in your home or distractions in your life, just try to guide it back, the mind back to your breath. We'll bring it back up to center. And we're going to keep your right leg hugged in. Let's reach down with your hands and hold on to the right hamstring. Your left leg is going to come to the ground, either bent or straight. And we'll take your right leg and start to straighten it up toward the sky. And you might bend and straighten that leg a couple times. But eventually I'd like us to settle that leg straight. Allow yourself to really press out and lengthen out through both heels. And then we're going to keep the right leg where it's at and open your arms either into a T or a goalpost shape, just something that feels stable down by your sides. Try to keep pressing out through both heels. And if this is too much, then you bend the right leg. And very, very slowly, we're going to take that right leg and start to move it toward the left. And at first, I want you to try to keep the pelvis flat on the ground. So you're only going to move the leg as far to the left as the pelvis can remain grounded. Really lengthen out through that right heel. And then you might continue really slowly. I want this to be gradual, to roll any amount more onto the outer left hip. That pelvis will start to lift. You could roll onto the left hip. Left toes might turn to the left. Try to stay really rooted into that right shoulder. We're not going to let the right foot come all the way down to the ground. So you've still got really two active legs. And then that slowly and gradually, let's bring it back up. Right leg over your right hip. And then slowly, with control, lower that right leg down to meet whatever the left leg is doing. Feel that moment while the leg finds the ground, that release into the floor. Big full inhale here. And full complete exhale. And then we'll bring your left knee into the chest. We'll do that again on the second side. So we'll hold the left hamstring. We'll begin to straighten that left leg. And if it feels sort of like you need to bend and straighten a couple times as you settle in here, we'll bend and straighten a couple times. Eventually settling into a place where that left leg is straight. And you're lengthening out through both heels if both legs are straight. Remember that right leg could be bent with the foot on the floor. We'll take the arms out into a T or a goalpost shape, whatever feels really steady for your shoulders. And we're going to start with the pelvis flat on the ground, a really gradual, small movement of that left leg over to the right. The left side of your pelvis will want to lift. For now, try to keep it rooted. And then slowly, where you can feel the shift of sensation, you can start to let the pelvis lift and roll any amount more onto that outer right hip. Really lengthen out through both heels as you root into that left shoulder. Last full breath here. And then slower than you want to, we'll take that left leg and start to lift it up, 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 up toward the sky. And then slower than you maybe want to, we'll lower that right leg down, left leg down next to your right. And you let that left leg find the ground. Feel that moment where everything releases. Full inhale here. Full complete exhale. And then let's bring both knees into the chest, and we're going to start to find some movement here. Let's roll up and down the spine a bit. Nice and slowly bring yourself up and over any way that works for you into your table pose. So we'll find our hands and knees. Shanti, I think you've had front and center just long enough, haven't you? Come on. We'll find our hands and knees. We'll start to move into our cat-cow. So inhale, belly down, head and heart up is going to be cow pose, just the exaggeration of your inhale. Exhale, belly to spine, head falls, that exaggeration of your exhale. Let's go back and forth there a couple times. How about one more round here? Eventually finding your table pose. So that neutral place between cow and cat. And as you find your table pose, let's tuck your toes under, lift the knees just an inch off the ground. Just an inch, floating table. And then try to keep that effort in your low belly. Let the knees return to the ground. And we're going to slide your right leg back with the toes on the floor. And try to have a slight suggestion of cat in your spine. So a little more cat than cow, perhaps. And try to keep that suggestion of cow. Let the right leg float off the ground. Stay here if you'd like, or maybe your left arm goes forward. And then let the left hand come down, and let the right hand come down, or right leg come down. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat pose. Inhale, table. Left leg slides back. Remember, let's add the slightest suggestion of cat to your spine. And then try to maintain that as that left leg flies. If you really keep that suggestion of cat, the leg will not get as high as you might want it to. But it'll be really well supported. Maybe your right arm goes forward. Feel that length from fingertips to heel. Steady breath. And try to create a sense of buoyancy, a sense of lifting out of the ground instead of just sitting in your joints. And then hand comes down, shin comes down. And let's tuck the toes just an inch, floating table. Let the knees come back down. We'll go back to that right leg. Right leg heads back. You might start with the toes on the ground, you might not. This time, instead of left arm going forward, left arm's going to go out to the side. Stay there if you'd like. Or let's start to bend your left elbow into your waist and start to let that left shoulder roll open toward the left as you resist up through your right thigh bone. And maybe take that left arm up to the sky. So it's sort of like a revolved half moon, but you're on your shin. That right leg is doing its best to not just collapse into the ground. Belly's engaged. Left outer hip is hugged in. And then that's enough. Get out of there. Hand slowly comes down and shin comes down. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat pose. Inhale, table. Do the other side. Left leg back. You can start with toes on the ground. You can keep them there. You can float the leg. This time, instead of right arm forward, let's go right arm out to the side. Feel that up and in effort. Stay here. Or start to bend that right elbow into your right waist. Roll the right shoulder over the left. Resist up through that left thigh bone. Maybe take your right hand up toward the ceiling. Strong low belly. Steady, steady breath. And then hand comes down. Shin comes down. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat pose. One more time into cow. And we'll tuck the toes, downward facing dog. So from your down dog here, let's rise up onto the toe tips. That's going to be your inhale. Exhale, heels drop down. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, heels drop. One more. Rise up. And down. Inhale, let's come forward to plank. Drop the knees to the ground for this first one. Elbows point straight back as we lower chaturanga. Inhale, baby cobra. And exhale, lower. Let's do 2 more there. Inhale, cobra. You might start to put some weight in the hands, up to you. Keep the collarbones broad, shoulders back, and then slow and steady with your exhale, lower it down. One more time, bring it up. And down. We'll press into hands and knees, come up table. And downward facing dog. Let's take your right leg, start to lift it up and back toward the sky. You can keep the legs neutral, or if you're feeling an open hip today, let that right hip stack over the left, but keep pressing back through your left thigh. Shoulders attempt to stay parallel or square to the ground. And then with your exhale, let's bring the right foot from wherever it's at between your hands. And bend your back knee, lower it down to the floor. Let's come on up, shoulders over hips. We're going to keep your back toes tucked under. Feel the right foot push down and pull back into the mat. Left knee pushes down and pulls forward. And then let's begin to hover that left knee an inch or 2 or 3 off the ground. Keep that back knee bent. As you breathe here, feel a dropping of the tailbone, a lifting of the front points of your pelvis. And then slowly trying to keep the pelvis upright. Let's straighten that back leg, just really slow. Gradually so that you can feel the pelvis response, what's needed to stabilize. And then slowly let's reach forward, hands come to the ground. Inhale, plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, any height of cobra or up dog. And downward facing dog. Left leg lifts, inhale. Again, you can keep it square, or you can open it up, your choice. Foot between the hands, take your time. Let's drop your back knee down to the ground. Keep the back toes tucked under. Let the hands come all the way up, shoulders over hips. So I tend to call this the low lunge without any party involved. So there's the all party, all fun low lunge. We're trying to find the one that's all work and no play for now. So feel the scissoring of the legs, that pulling down and back in the front leg, the down and forward in the back leg. Trying to find a place where it feels like the top part of your pelvis is right over the bottom part of your pelvis. And then let's start to float that back knee a couple inches off the ground. If you do that and it feels like the leg's too far back, put the knee down and readjust. Continue to feel that work of getting the pelvis upright. Maybe little by little, straighten the back leg. Slow enough that you can feel what's happening. And then let those hands come down. Inhale, plank. Chaturanga, exhale. Inhale, back bend of your choosing. Exhale, downward facing dog. Again, similar but different. Right leg goes up, inhale. You can keep it square, you can open it. But as you exhale, we're going to take your right knee towards your left upper arm. It might touch, it might not. Inhale, up and back. 2 more, bring it under. And up. Under. And up. And foot between your hands. Start to bend your back knee like it's coming to the ground, but it's going to hover. And then let's take your hands, let the fingertips get light, and slowly reach those hands up to the sky. Let's try to keep that back leg bent. It'll help if the heel's off the ground, so just try not to have the heel angled in at all. And let's take your arms forward, parallel to the ground. Left hand's going to stay there. Right elbow's going to pull back like a bow and arrow. And then let that right hand come back forward. Let's do that 2 more times. Pull back. And forward. 1 more time. Pull back. Do your best to feel the pelvis getting upright. It's not perfection, it's a practice, so just see what's possible. Maybe stay here or take that right arm, reach it back. Stay here or start to straighten the back leg as you lunge in to your front knee a little more. And then we'll take both hands up to the sky. And we're going to exhale both hands inside your front leg. Front leg can wiggle to the side, the right just a bit. You're welcome to stay here or start to crawl your hands forward like downward facing dog. We're going to do our best to not let your right hip pop out to the side. So if hands don't comfortably come to the ground, put blocks or your block substitute beneath the hands. And let the head fall between the arms as that right hip hugs in. And if you're feeling like you want to ground your back knee, you totally can. Some of you might bend the elbows here and come on down to forearms. Keep driving that left thigh bone toward the sky wherever you're at. If you're on forearms, come back up to hands. Bring your hands back under your shoulders. You could head to down dog if you'd like, or plank, chaturanga, back bend, downward facing dog. Left leg lifts, it can stay square, it can open. Either way with your exhale, left knee, right upper arm. That's where it's headed, it might tap, it might not. Back up. 2 more. And we'll bring that foot between the hands when you're ready. We'll start to bend the back knee as though it's going to come to the ground, but it's going to hover. We'll take those hands forward and up, nice and slow. When you're ready, let's lower the arms parallel to the ground. And then we're going to bend your left elbow, pull back, and then release. Take the hand forward. Let's do that 2 more times. Pull back and forward and back. Stay here. Open the arms straight back. And if it feels manageable, you might start to straighten that back leg as you lunge a little more fully into your front leg. We'll bring that left arm forward, both hands up. And then let's wiggle your left foot to the left. Hands come down inside your front foot. You can stay here if you'd like, or take your hands, walk them forward, like downward facing dog. But try not to let that left hip sass to the side, so it's hugging in and back. Back knee could come down if you'd like. And forearms might come down to the ground if that makes sense for your body. Let the head fall. Try not to let that back leg get soggy. Right thigh driving toward the sky. If you're on elbows, go ahead, come back up to hands. Walk the hands back. Under the shoulders, and one more time, your choice. Down dog, child's pose, or vinyasa, plank, chaturanga, and back bend. Downward facing dog when you're ready. And let's settle for about 5 breaths. Within these breaths, feeling the thighs pulling back to shift the majority of weight in this shape into the legs, even if it's like 55-45. Take a little bit of the burden out of your arms and hands. Let's begin to rise up onto your tippy toes. Look to your hands, and we're going to ballerina our way all the way forward. Bend your knees when you need to until you're standing on your feet, hips are above ankles, and allow yourself to fully and completely fold over your legs. From there, let's slide your fingertips up the shins as high as the knees, halfway lift, and then exhale, bow forward. And then we'll bend the knees and come on up into chair. Let the weight be heavy in the heels. A sense of heaviness on the back side of your pelvis. And then let's rise all the way up to standing. Big reach up. And bring those hands to heart as you exhale. Inhale, hands go up. Exhale, let's sit back into chair and let your hands come to your heart as you sit down. We're going to take a little tip forward over your thighs. Feel the line of your spine, tailbone back, crown of head forward. And with shifting as little as possible, we're going to move the weight into your right foot. Let that left leg hover. And again, shifting as little as possible. Take that left leg back, 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 back. And we're going to let those toes come all the way down to the ground. Firming in through that outer right hip, let's drop your left heel to the ground. Let those left toes open toward the side. So you're preparing for warrior one. And then you're going to move your prayer into a clasp at your low back with your elbows pulling in toward each other. And if that clasp doesn't work, you could do 2 fists on your low back. Feel your elbows thigh mastering toward each other. And then let's slowly come on up, shoulders over hips. And lunge down into that front knee as you slide that inner left thigh back. Inhale, press down into the right big toe, straighten your front leg. Exhale, bend the front knee. One more time, straighten. And bend. And then let's keep the legs generally where they're at, but open just a bit. You might crawl that right foot forward a little as you take your body into warrior two. So that right outer hip is hugging in and back. Shoulders open toward the long edge of your mat. We're going to take your clasp into that front hip. You're going to leave your left hand there as you lean into your side angle and let your right hand come down to floor or block. Use that half bind in your left arm to gently help that shoulder open. Those of you looking for more today, maybe that right arm flies forward. Last 2 breaths. And then let the hand come down if it's flying. Let's release your left hand down the back leg. Reach your front hand forward, up and back, reverse. And then we'll bring your arms up parallel to the ground, warrior 2. And we're going to turn our toes to face the left edge of the mat. If you've got that block there, you could just move it. Hands on hips, strong straight legs, feet parallel, elbows hugged back gently. And let's tip forward into our forward fold. I'm going to choose to keep my hands on my hips today. You might bring your hands to the ground. Wherever you're at, allow the spine to feel really long, those shoulders to feel soft. Last full breath here. And then with strong legs, we'll lift all the way back up. Open your right toes toward the front. One more time, reverse. And let your hands come down around your front foot. Down dog, child's pose, or vinyasa, your choice. Stay with your breath. Inhale. Let's rise up onto your tippy toes, bend your knees. Exhale, hop, step, or walk. Top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale. Let's rise all the way up to standing. And as you exhale, we'll sit back into chair. Let your hands come to your heart. And your chair is going to start to tip forward a bit more. The hip crease will deepen. And we're going to shift into that left foot. So as few shenanigans as possible. Try not to lean into the hip. Try not to lift up. Keep everything where it's at. Right foot floats. Take it back slow and steady. Let the toes find the floor. Keep your body leaning forward. Hip hugs in as you glue that back heel to the ground. Toes angle out slightly. And then we're going to relocate your hands behind your back into that clasp. Knuckles clasping or fist pressing at the sacrum. Elbows hugged in. And let's slowly come on up into your warrior 1 legs. Lunging into that front knee as that right inner hip slides back. And then inhale, we'll straighten the front leg and bend the front knee. Straighten and bend. One more time, straighten and bend. So we're going to do our best to keep the legs more or less as they are, kind of a heel to heel alignment. Just little micro adjustments as you open into warrior 2. And the hands are going to relocate into that clasp at the front hip. Keep your right hand where it's at. Let that left hand come down onto floor or block as you lean into your side angle. That right hip hand might just press. It might grab the hip. That's just dependent on your arm length and your proportions. And then roll that right shoulder and the whole right side of your torso back just a bit. Stay here if you want more. Left arm floats forward. Left hand lowers if it's lifted. You might move your block out of the way now. We'll come on up as that right hand releases down your back leg. Left hand reaches up and back, reverse. And on this side, we're not going to fold forward. We'll just come back up through warrior two. Let your hands windmill down to the ground. Lift that back heel. Child's pose, down dog, or vinyasa. Your choice. Inhale, let's bend the knees, lift the heels, look forward. Exhale, walk, step, or hop. Top of the mat. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, fold. Rise up, reach up, inhale. And exhale, hands to heart. Moment of pause to feel the ground, to feel your feet on the floor. If your blocks are not at the top of your mat, let's go ahead and get them near the front of your mat now. And then we are going to return into chair. This is our last complete standing sequence before we start to slow it down. So when you find your chair, we're going to once again bring the hands to the heart and take that deep tip forward. I want you to worry a little less about the extremities. So I'm not so concerned about elbow finding thigh for our twist here. I want you to focus right at your center here, that shish kebab skewer of your spine. And we're going to start to rotate around that skewer to take left elbow down, right elbow up. And if you can keep that line and latch the elbow or tap it to the top of your right thigh, great. But if in order to do that you have to really move your shish kebab skewer diagonally, then don't worry about it. Feel that length from tailbone through crown of head. And then slowly untwist. Shift into your right foot, left leg hovers. Minimize the shenanigans. Float that left leg back, 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 back. Toes to the ground. Firm that outer right hip in. Back heel drops to the floor. Toes angle out. And let's come on up. Hands to the sky. Warrior one. We'll slowly, once you're there, straighten your front leg. Feel yourself lengthening out through both heels. And then you can keep hands upright. You can bring them to your heart or your hips. We're going to fold from your hips and start to lengthen the torso forward. We're going to pause with the body parallel to the ground. Feel the length, feel the support of your legs, the driving down and in of your heels, the broadening of the thighs and the low back. And then let your hands make their way down to floor or blocks, if that's a better option. We're going to maintain sort of a half lift orientation of the spine. So you could fold all the way in, but that's not what we're doing today. Option to stay here. If this is enough, stay. If you want to fold in, you can do that. If you want to continue on the line of the twist, the development of the twist, we're going to keep your left hand grounded. Push down into that block directly below the shoulder, and let's start to pull your right elbow toward the sky. Pause. Really press back through your left thigh bone, drive into that left heel. Maybe take your right hand up toward the ceiling. You are more than welcome to stay here, firming in that outer right hip, grounding into your right big toe. If you want a little bit more, we'll put a soft bend into your right knee. Everything more or less stays the same as you come up onto the ball of the back foot. Move your block or your hand forward and come up, revolved half moon. You did this pose on your shin earlier. Drive that left thigh to the sky, hug the outer right hip in, broaden through the collarbones. Big deep breath all the way into the lowest part of yourself. All the way into the deepest part of yourself. If you're in the half moon shape, we'll bend the knee, slide it back, coming back into your reverse triangle. Everyone in reverse triangle, let that right hand come down, soft bend to the front knee, and let yourself bow. Take your blocks out wide. If they're there, step forward. Wiggle the feet out fairly wide, soft bend to the knees. Let's grab opposite arms or elbows and bow in. Head heavy, arms heavy. And then we'll bend the knees, roll up, inch by inch by inch. We'll take a big reach up toward the ceiling. Anchor down through your feet and your legs. Feel that pelvis stay upright and add any amount of back bend in the upper back. Exhale, hands to heart. Big full inhale here. Full complete exhale. Wiggle your feet back to hip width. Sit back to chair. So hands could go to the sky for a breath or two to find that length. Eventually, let's bring them to heart. Start to deepen the flexion of your hips, that hip crease deepening back as you tip forward. Feel that line of your spine. And we'll take right elbow down, left elbow up, rotating around your axis. The elbow might tap or latch, but it might not. Knees are attempting to be even. Both hips are driving back. And then we're going to shift into that left foot. Sorry, we're going to lose the twist first. Then shift into the left foot. Take your right leg back, slow and steady. Keep the lean in the body. Toes find the ground. Outer left hip firms in. Let's drop that back heel, toes angle out. And then let's bring it up, all the way up into warrior one. Once you're there, we'll straighten the front leg. Take a moment or two there to feel the length of your legs, the stack of the spine, the rooting of that left big toe. And we're coming forward into that lean again. Hands reaching forward, hands at heart or hands on hips, your choice. Until we find that place where your back is more or less parallel to the ground. We'll pause and really root into your feet. Feel that grounding down but energetic lift up and out of the legs. And then hands can come down to floor or blocks, but again, we're going to maintain that halfway lift shape and effort. You're welcome to stay here. If you'd like, put that right hand and block directly below your right shoulder. Start to bend your left elbow toward the sky. Maybe take that left hand toward the ceiling. Drive back through your right thigh bone. Root into both heels. Stay here if you'd like. Or start to bend that front knee. Take your right block and hand forward and come up slowly into revolved half moon. Right thigh bone driving upward. Left thigh and outer hip hugging in. rotation happening around the waist, through the neck, the crown of the head. Last full breath here. And then we'll make it our way back into that revolved triangle shape. We'll let that left hand come down, soft bend to that front knee. Let's bow. Let's take your blocks off of your mat if they're there. Hands to ground, down dog or vinyasa, your choice. So we're going to take our right leg up and back. This is an awkward one to get into, but it's worth it once you're there. So we're going to take your right leg underneath your left arm. It's going to kick out to straight if you can. We're going to slowly let it slide out further as we come all the way down onto the outer edge of the right hip. If it would make more sense for you to come into that from table or even just from your belly, you can. And then we're going to come on down to our forearms. So you want to end up in a shape that looks like this relatively. That front leg could be bent. It's going to change the benefit of the stretch, though. And I like my back toes tucked under. Some people prefer to let them point back. That's fine. If you're feeling like you really just need to kind of bow in here and let the head come to a block or your hands, you're welcome to. If you feel like you need the benefit of cobra work, stay with a little bit of cobra shape in your upper arms and back. Or sorry, not cobra, but sphinx. Same work, different placement of the arms. Let's come back up onto hands. Lots of ways you could get out of this. Make it as unawkward as possible for you. I'm going to push into my left big toes and drive it back. Left toes, not just big toes. Drive it back to down dog. And let's do that other side. Left leg goes up. And we'll bring it underneath your right arm. Slowly wiggle it further to the left. Come onto that outer left hip. And come on down to your forearms. Remember, you could add that block in beneath your forehead if you'd like, or maintain some of that work of sphinx. Last full breath here. And we'll come back up onto our hands. Drive into those back toes, take it back down dog, or whatever approach there works best for you. And then we're going to make our way through all the way to seated. You could walk through, jump through, step through, and we'll bring our tush to the ground and the legs out in front of us. Let's take toes toward the sky, legs out straight. Start with your hands out to the sides, sit up nice and tall. Thighs drive toward the floor, toes pull back. Dandasana, staff pose. And then if it's appropriate for your back today, let's take your hands and walk them forward any amount, lengthening over your legs. And instead of focusing on grabbing the feet or where the hands end up, let's really feel this sort of up and over lengthening of your torso over the legs. You might even repeat that with each breath, sort of this kind of coiling in as you exhale to then lengthen up and over as you inhale. Two more breaths here. And then let's slowly walk the hands back in. And let's grab whatever block-like object you have. I even used a couple Amazon boxes this week. We just need something really stable to put your pelvis on. And we're going to lower down onto the back. And we're going to slide one block or maybe two or a stack of books or a solid Amazon package or a couple really stable, firm blankets underneath the pelvis so that we can get the hips lifted here for a little bit. The pelvis can rest, and we can take a little bit of the effort and work out of the legs. Let's set the arms so that the palms are turned up, the shoulders are broad, thumbs are turned out, palms up, thumbs out, so that there's a sense of the upper back moving in toward the chest, the heart toward the chin. Allow the entire pelvis and sacrum to be really heavy on your blocks. This might be what you need today. I'm going to invite you to stay here a little longer. An alternative could be taking your legs up toward the ceiling, knees bent or legs straight, your choice. If you're really content and you want to stay longer, feel free to pause this video for a bit and stay. We're going to start to bring the legs and the feet back down to earth. So if the legs are lifted, bend them and bring the feet down to the ground one at a time. Pausing there for a breath or two. And then we'll lift the hips, pressing into the feet. Slide your block-like device out from beneath you. Let your hips come on down to the ground. Invite the knees to sway a little bit, side to side. And let's bring the knees into the chest. Reach down, grab onto your shins or your thighs. You might also bring your nose up toward your knees. there's any remaining shape or pose you need, definitely take some time for it. And if you are ready for Shavasana, just settle on in to your Shavasana. Any shape that allows you to rest, to be comfortable. And I'm going to build in here a 3-minute Shavasana. So I will wake you up or let you know when that is complete. If you need a longer Shavasana, then you might just pause the video now and head off into your own time. Take rest, my friends. Let's begin to deepen the breath once again. Gently add some movement back into your body. Maybe petting the animals that have joined you on your mat. Or taking the arms up overhead and getting super long. And then easy. I'm going to bend the knees, bring the feet to the ground. And gently roll to a side. Take your time. We'll make our way up toward a comfortable seat. Bringing your hands together in front of your heart and just feeling the effect that this practice had for you today. The choices you made, the breaths you took. Carrying this practice with you as a gift to yourself and to everyone and all that you connect with along the way. The light within me honors the light within each of you. Namaste.